About a year and a half ago, I did this video about a Kickstarter project called Terra Invicta. We are now, of course, 18 months later, and the publisher for the game, A Hooded Horse, as well as Pavonis Interactive, have been so kind to give me a demo key for this particular game so that we can have a look at it, because it's been a while since we covered this, and it is shaping up to be a rather interesting experience. Today we're going to be taking an overall look at the game, what it is about, what you do, and how the general game flow works. First off, it is the year of now. Yeah, the game starts off in 2022, and essentially what happens is that aliens have been detected in the solar system, and they are on their way to Earth. Because of this, the entire world's population is in a little bit of an uproar, and several factions start popping up. And essentially, those factions are very similar to what you would expect in grand strategy games, because that's essentially what this is. They have their own leaders, they have their own objectives, and they need to do certain things in order to win. We've got Humanity First, for instance, who want to eradicate the aliens as they come in. Whereas, for instance, Project Exodus, they want to leave the planet behind and go to a different solar system, with everything else in between. Now, the demo version that I have right now is focused around the Resistance, which is a special faction which essentially want to resist the impact of the aliens as they come in. Now, at the start of the game, you will find yourself on the planet Earth, which is pretty standard when it comes to a game playing in 2022. And there is a reasonable amount of stuff that you can start doing at the start of the game. You have a group of people, and you can start influencing the world to bring them to your side, to bring them to your faction. For instance, the European Union, I have put under control of my faction by bringing more interest into my cause, into the general swing of things. For instance, Germany at the moment is very interested in the Resistance. However, the other factions can also do this, and the entire world is covered by different factions that will try to control the world and their resources to get to their objective. And this can be rather interesting, because the start of the game is very much a land rush to get control of the world states. Now, you can only have so many before you don't have the resources to upkeep all of this stuff, but still it's very, very interesting on how all of this functions, especially considering the mechanics behind the council and the people that they control. They all have different capabilities, they all have different statistics and different attributes and monthly incomes, as well as traits. It's very character driven. I really like this, and you can augment them as well as add certain organizations underneath them, which can give you additional bonuses. It feels very similar. It feels very much like a character or person development game where you have these characters that really drive the interaction that you have with the world. But the world itself is not really where it all ends. Sure, in the first parts of the game, you are going to slowly start taking control of the Earth. For instance, I've been trying to take control of the United States for quite some time, and for some reason, they just don't want to join my faction, which is a little bit annoying, and instead, the Servants, which is the faction that wants to serve the aliens, instead are taking slowly but steadily control of the United States. Now, why would you want to take control of the United States, of Russia, or China? Well, it's because they have access to space programs, launch complexes, because stopping the aliens does not necessarily happen only on Earth. Sure, there is abductions going on, and alien megafauna will drop onto the planet, trying to do very cheeky things and trying to terraform the planet for the aliens, but it doesn't necessarily mean that all the stuff happens on the planet. No, we can actually zoom out, and as we zoom out, we will find that well, let's put it this way, the entire solar system is in fact modeled in this game, and these are all locations that you can go to as a player. If you ever played Kerbal Space Program, this will feel very familiar, except there is a million more things available. But there's also these little icons floating around, and these are the aliens. The aliens have set up shop at the Quaour's planet, or at least the dwarf planet in this particular case. I think it's actually a Kuiper Belt object, and they have got themselves a base set up here, which is a little bit annoying because they're using this base to build new ships to deploy towards Earth, where they can make things more and more annoying for you. And essentially, you have to deal with alien abductions, megafauna, as I already said, and other things that are happening inside of the solar system, or at least ships, etc. And you need to make sure that these things obviously go away. Of course, if that is the goal of your faction. If you're part of another faction, you may want to embrace the aliens and stop all the other factions from doing anything. But still, the world is very much shattered, and especially this early game scenario where you're trying to control the Earth very much feels like a Cold War experience. You can control all these nations. For instance, Russia. You can tell them, hey, I would like you to gain territory somewhere else, and we're going to use nuclear weapons on this. Yes, we can definitely launch on a target if we would want to. We can influence all of these nations. We can ask the Netherlands or Germany to leave the European Union. Why would we do that? Well, if you don't want to have a lot of cohesion in the world, then that is probably the best way to do. If you want to make the world a less coherent place for the aliens to scoop up, then that's something that may be interesting for you. Of course, there is other things that you can do as well. You can get resources from places, including the solar system itself. So if we quickly go to the HABs, which is our habitats in orbit, you will see that we actually have habitats in orbit right now, which are in orbit of the planet. They are directly modeled, as in they are inside of the solar system, and we can navigate to them very easily. And we can use these places for science, research, and that sort of stuff, but also resource collection. But most importantly, we can use these to build fleets. Yes, you can build fleets in this game, and we have different modifiers to see what we want to do. So we want to build a gunship, we can totally do so. Let's slap a big ass engine on that bad boy. There's our gunship already. Let's put some weapons on there. We cannot do that with this particular type, which is a little bit annoying. Guns, maybe. No, we can't do that with this one, which is, we got nose weapons. So we got a 10-inch cannon, which we can put on there. That's nice. Some radiators, because radiators are important in space, because all of this stuff is modeled. Some batteries. Which one was this, sir? This was molten salt battery, lithium sulfur batteries, lithium ion batteries. We need a power plant on this ship. We need a drive unit, which we already have. And of course, some armor in order to make sure that we can keep the ship up and running. I'm not entirely sure whether this unit is supposed to be. Is this a utility module? Yeah, it is. So we can put ECM on there, hydrogen containment, water heat sinks, etc. So let's actually put this this unit on there if we can, or we don't have the resources for it at the moment, which is probably not the best. But slap some armor on that bad boy, give it some more thrust, yeah, give you some more power, please, some more propellant so that we have more delta V, because yes, delta V is important in this game. We need to be able to get out of orbit quite quickly. So let's give this ship 10 kilopascal KPS, 10 kilometers an hour of delta V on cruise. Yeah, that works. So we can put some armor on here. Let's do so. Can we save this design? And we can also, of course, hit auto design and just save. So yeah, there you go. We have ourselves a ship that we can build. So let's actually build ourselves a ship, and let's just build it here on the queue. Yeah, there we go. So now we actually have a ship that is being built here at our station in orbit, and now we can just essentially put the clock forward. Now in orbit, the clock is relatively slow. We're only having several minutes per second being clocked. But if we go back over towards the geoscape, for instance, we can definitely crank up the speed here, which I think is rather fascinating. Now earlier on, oh, there we go. We've got some activity on the ground. We investigated some aliens. Good. We have not good news. Oh no, people have been showing secrets to the aliens. That's not very good at all. But yeah, we have this ship now in being built, and it will be done in about 30 days. We were unable to establish control, which is very nice. But of course, there's also things like science, etc. For it's all relatively basic at the moment because this is a demo after all. But we're generating new technologies for ourselves. How do economics change now that aliens have been found out? The industrialization of space, terrestrial military science, and all that stuff. So there's a whole gigantic tech tree, which I think is rather cool. Let's see. The game itself is also incredibly detailed because every single nation, as I earlier mentioned, is in fact represented on this giant ass list that essentially allows us to show what is going on in the world. We've got all of our nations that we got high public opinion in, or the other factions. What kind of launch capabilities do they have? How many control centers do they have? What science output do they have? What type of government do they have? Are they at peace? How many control centers do they have? There is a lot of stuff to unpack here. And when you're starting the game out, it may go a little bit slow as the land rush to get all these nations under your control. And that's pretty interesting, but it really starts to get interesting as soon as you have access to spaceships, because then you can start building bases on other planets and start gaining all these big ass resources here, and things start to get out of control and more events start to pop up, and the aliens will become closer and closer. Now this particular game has been developed by the people who made the Long War for XCOM, and it shows. It is a game with a lot of granularity, and it also takes quite some time to get going. You want to take it slow. You want to weigh your options, because there is a lot of options. You want to make sure that the world itself is in a good place before you take your next step. Are you going to try to destabilize a nation? Do you have the resources to destabilize a nation? Do you have the right counselors available to do the things that you want? Have you taken control of some of the bigger centers of production that will allow you to get the resources that you need in order to get to space and colonize the solar system in order to fight back against the aliens? Are the other factions trying to get in control of areas on the planet that also have launch capabilities, and you're trying to do something against that? These are all things that you have to keep in mind, and with all these options available, you have to be very careful with the decisions that you make, because everything you do has massive knock-on effects. I really think that this has a lot of potential, especially for long games, because you cannot just sit down for an evening and play a whole game. This is a significant time investment that you will need to make in order to play a long session of this. But yeah, this is interesting so far. I like where this is going. The aliens themselves, I don't know much about them. You can research them in the game, and apparently there is there is some aliens coming in on course from Neptune right now. They've got 906 fleet power, and they're on course to Earth, so that is kind of scary. So we'll see what happens there. But still, later on in the game, full space battles are there. You're starting to manage your fleets. You start to manage the colonization within the solar system and everything in between. I'm really looking forward to see where this is going to go, and I'm really looking forward to play with some of the other factions. I particularly think that the faction that want to escape the solar system to go somewhere else has a lot of potential, and gaining the resources of the solar system to build yourself a generation ship to go somewhere else is rather interesting. Or maybe, wanting to deal with the aliens directly, join them, or become equal to them, or destroy them, or just generally resist them. Why are they here? Why have they come? What are they trying to do? We do not know, and that's something that you will have to figure out. So yeah, that is Terra Invicta. It's been a long way coming until we got this to our screens, and I hope that this general overview, or at least this early impressions, give you an idea of what the game is about, and maybe it's something for you. If it is, I would highly recommend for you to wishlist this on Steam, because you can get updates for it. I don't know when it's going to be out. I only have a demo at this moment in time. I also don't have a price point yet, so we shall see. But yeah, more details available on the Kickstarter page or Steam. I will just link it down below for you to go and check out. And if you think this is interesting, feel free to give this game a Steam wishlist, because I think this is something that you can spend endless hours with a lot of possibility of expansion as well in the future, with different things going on, different solar systems, different timelines, etc. So yeah, let me know what you think. Leave them in the comments below. I'm always interested to see more stuff from you guys and interact with you on a day-by-day basis. I will be doing a little bit more videos about non-Stellaris games in the future, and specifically focusing on more sci-fi game stuff. The Stellaris team is currently on holiday as well, so I have a little bit of time to do so. And Terra Invicta seemed to be a great place to kick off with. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take good care of yourselves. And as always, those aliens, man, they're coming.